Okay, my name is Kristina. Grew up in Fort Washington, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. Had a great childhood, loving parents, three other older siblings. So I'm the youngest, two boys, two girls. Gymnast when I was younger, so very heavily sports family. Tomboy growing up. Great circle of friends that I'm still friends with today. Growing up, having siblings, I always thought of myself getting married and having kids, having three children. We shared everything. We still, to this day, get together and have family game nights and things of that nature and support each other as a very supportive household. Lots of fun, lots of cookouts, incorporating the neighborhood. I had a pretty traditional American childhood with lots of memories, lots of fun memories. Whatever our aspirations were at the time, whether it was school related, future related. Oldest brother went into the military right out of high school. Everyone was very supportive of him. My two other siblings, one played basketball, the other played football. We were always there. Recitals, parents were already there, helping with homework. They were always there, supporting us just in every way that they possibly could to help us reach our goals or to help us reach our dreams. Setting that foundation work. So a turning point in my life would be losing my mother at the age of 19. She was ill for a while. She had sarcoidosis. And when she passed, the dynamic changed within the family. I was closest to her versus my father. And now we had to lean on each other. My parents married young, so they were all they knew for 32 years of life. They got married at 18, 19 years old. So it was challenging navigating not only my loss, but my father's loss of his wife, his best friend, the love of his life. My mother was the glue. I always knew she was the center of attention, but I didn't know she was the glue of her siblings along with our immediate family. She was the oldest of 6 kids. She guided them as much as she's guided us. So she was the voice of the family. Some of the hardships for me were figuring out not only who I am at 19 years old and who I'm becoming as a young adult, a young woman, but who's going to guide me now into that adulthood, into that womanhood. Losing your mother at such a young age and not being as close as you were to your father, it really navigates you, as my father was very much a disciplinarian, as much as he showed love. But talking to someone about things that are challenging you or just thoughts that you have in your head, it was always my mother that was that driving force. Knowing that she wouldn't want you to give up in any endeavor that you took on. Trying to realize that she's proud of you without her actually being here. It's just you have more of those moments when you lose a parent so young in your adulthood and you realize there's so much life to be had. Coping wise, I grasped upon faith, which was instilled by her. We were very much a church-going family. So we very much was the Christian family, and she was very much the vocal point of that, ensuring that we read the Bible, prayed as a family. And then just hearing her voice in my head, guiding me. I met my husband, my future husband, at work. We worked at Target. He decided he wanted to get in the military, and I've wished him well on that because I believe firmly in marriage and not going as a girlfriend to follow him as a girlfriend. I wanted more of a commitment. So we got married. The wedding was his idea since I didn't want a wedding. And he knew why, because my mother wasn't here and I always told her I would go to Justice of the Peace. And he was like, your mother would want you to have a wedding. We're going to do it for her. Those were more so the wonderful times. But it's just a combination of things that went wrong. Being young, both of us were young, having a child young as well. One of us was more geared for that than the other. And then it just, the turn that made me leave was the relationship became very turbulent. And it was at that point, it was, I don't want my son growing up in that environment. So I had to go. And that's what made me leave for the better. We were married for 7. Yes. Dated for 2. Yeah, the ugly aspect would be feeling like a failure. With your parents being married for so long, you want that, and to see the happiness that was in the home that they built together, growing old together, building a family together. You want that for your own life, and you want to give your child or children that type of environment and that type of life. So having to leave something that you knew that was detrimental to every aspect of your life, you have to do what's best for your child in that moment. And for me, it was leaving. And of course, once I left and was in a safe environment, you have the negative thoughts that seep in. You're a failure. You have anxiety of the unknown. You don't know where your life is going. You're basically starting your life over, no matter what your financial situation is, with a child on top of that who is looking at you as the provider, as mom, as my safety. But in the same time, while you're feeling that failure, you feel an immense amount of pressure to turn your life around and to be productive and to provide for your child. And it gives you that strength and that focus to push your life forward in a way that you might not have necessarily thought about doing if you didn't have that situation happen to you. I myself moved back in with my father, and that relationship had to develop in itself as well, because with losing my mother and him becoming more of the vocal point of voice of reason and getting to know him on a more deeper level that like my mother did, that was challenging in itself because we hadn't had that time to build that prior to me getting married and leaving. So it's navigating that. When I left, I decided, okay, you've got to start working. And then at that point, you're like, all right, I still want my house. I still want to provide for my son. I don't want to struggle, which pushed me into getting my associate's degree and finishing that, still while going through the divorce process, taking care of my son, having him in school, helping him with homework after school, taking him to football practice, taking him to soccer practice, just outright being exhausted in the process, but still studying for your own degrees. There were plenty of nights where I would have my son in the room with me and I would fall asleep studying right smack on the book. I'd wake up, the house is empty. My dad would take him to go get ice cream just to give me a break because he knew I was exhausted. Having that family support is everything. Everyone needs a village. And it doesn't matter if you have family or friends that are your village. I happen to have both. I was blessed in that way. I had friends who would drag me out of the house when classes ended just because I just needed to celebrate that I finished the semester. I had a brother who would drive an hour away to meet me just to take my son for the weekend because they knew I needed the break to study. So I get a little emotional, but if it wasn't for them, I don't even know if I would have finished school or be where I am now, where I own my own house. My son was in a great program for school, an excelled program for school. He's in college now. And that's because of the foundation that I had and the support that I had who helped me take care of him in a sense. His grandfather is his father figure, and they have a very close relationship. And I can't say that they would have a close relationship if my mother had still been here, in a sense. While that was bad, I look at where I am now, and I'm a homeowner. I have 2 degrees, associate's and bachelor's degree in business management. I work in a nonprofit field. I've grown substantially within my career, while my son has grown immensely as a young man. He ended up from middle school, ended up going into a specialized high school for gifted kids. He's currently he's in his sophomore year at HBCU for computer information systems. He's excelling. He's also working at the same time. He's thriving with friendships and even within his own relationships. And it's interesting to see that dynamic because he hasn't really seen his mother in a relationship. And what's interesting about that is because while I had those struggles raising him and trying to finish school and all these other things happening around me, I never really took the time to start relationships. It was hard for me to start relationships because I had big trust issues in general coming out of what I had, and I had to grow emotionally from that. and learn to experience and learn that all men are not the same, and learn that my experience is not someone else's experience, so I can't put that on an individual that I meet, and not bashing his own father in a sense through my anger, because my relationship with his father is not the same relationship that he has with his own father. My advice to someone that's going through dark times, whether it be emotionally, mentally, relationship-wise, people come at you in different ways in different seasons. It's just to remind them that storms don't last. Storms always roll through quick. What may seem like 5 years may only be 3 months. It's hard to see the positive in life in general. And when you seem to have everything being thrown at you at once, you can't see that light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to believe that there is a light at the end of that tunnel and keep pushing. And more often than other, I've talked to women who've gone through abusive relationships or failed marriages, and they're struggling mentally through it. And I help by explaining my situation. Me, myself, I self-helped myself through it. I read self-help books. I listened to YouTube to get my mind out of the stagnant negativity of, oh man, ain't nothing. And I had to refocus that energy. And I tell them, if that works for you, great. If you need to talk to somebody, do that. Advocate for mental health professionals, because they help you realign and refocus things, and they help you to channel things in a different way to help you push through whatever storm you're going through. So that would be my advice. So after him graduating and seeing him go off to college, it opened doors for me to want to fulfill something in me, to want to travel. I want to see the world. So now I'm able to do that. I'm able to travel. It's been a huge relief. I'm meeting different people and learning even more so things about myself, and especially in things I want in a partner. The old Kristina didn't see this, because going through the storm, you don't see it, but you focus yourself in the hopes that you can provide a better future for your child, and that they can finally see you happy in the end.